What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, to have your own answers, to make your own decisions, and I believe in your ability to do so, to be your own person. And it's been a long time no see. I'm still not home, so this video is going to be going up raw. I apologize for that, because you're probably going to hear dogs barking in the background or something along those lines. But in today's episode, I want to talk about how you're manifesting your reality. And like I said, most of the things that I talk about on here are philosophy, spirituality, self-help, and, stuff of that nature. So if you're interested in any of that, I recommend you sub. And I don't know when I'm going to be back on my regular posting schedule, just because, like I said, I'm not home yet. And I don't know, I just do these every time that I get the inspiration to do these. And well, right now, I haven't been doing these because I'm not home, but once I get home, I'll be able to give you guys a schedule. And sorry about that. So I had a bunch of realizations on how I'm personally manifesting my reality, and it's a multitude of different things. It's a multitude of me fantasizing of certain things. It's a multitude of different feelings that I'm having. It's a multitude of picking up the phone when the universe is calling me. Right? That's what your intuition or your gut feeling is, or you wanting something. Believe it or not, you wanting something is the universe telling you, hey, this thing actually wants you. Do you want it back? Because if you want it back, we can make this happen, right? And the universe is like this big matchmaker. A lot of people, they don't, sorry about that. A lot of people, they don't experience their manifestations or their wishes or their dreams or their hopes or whatever. It's just the matchmaking of the universe. Like, for example, if you personally desire to travel or to be like some entrepreneur or whatever the fuck, like you have your own specific dreams. I don't know what those are. But if you have those dreams, it's because the universe is like, hey, that thing is trying to reach you. That's why you want it, because you hear it calling you. And when you hear it calling you, you can decide if you want it back. And if you want it back, then you make steps towards making that real for you. And if you don't want it back, then you sit there and you say no. And you don't move in the direction that you want to see. Like, for example, if I wanted to travel the world, but I felt like I can't do that, right? If you have those types of feelings, then you have to take small steps. Like, for example, try just traveling around your neighborhood. Even though it's not that big a deal, you can practice what it would feel like to be exploring a new neighborhood. You can practice what it would be like to be visiting a whole different country, a whole different place, a whole different culture, right? You can practice that feeling through taking small steps, and that tells the universe you're ready. So I'm going to set you two up on a date. We're going to do something little simple, not too crazy, because you can't just full-fledged marry somebody before getting to know them. Everything in your life is a relationship. Every single thing in your life is a relationship. How you feel about yourself is your relationship to you. Do you like yourself? Because a lot of people don't like themselves. That's their relationship. And it's why a lot of people, they're unhappy. Because your relationship to yourself doesn't align with what you want, right? And we can do this about every single facet of life. What's your relationship with your friends? What's your relationship with your family? And what's your relationship to your wants, likes, dislikes? What's your relationship to your reality? A lot of the things that you manifest are just the relationships that you have with those things, but you don't think of them consciously as a relationship because you're thinking, well, they're not a real tangible thing. If I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, me and this bottle we're not friends. We don't have a relationship, but we do have a relationship because the ways in which I think of them is the ways in which I will treat this thing. If I sit here and I don't care about things, for example, if I sit here and I don't care about the intangible things that aren't alive, this is not alive, right? I don't have conversations with this like it's alive, right? It's an inanimate object. So it has no lifelike quality, right? So if I sit here and I treat it with disrespect because I'm real, you're not, then most of the things in my reality are not going to last me. Most of the things in my reality are not going to be taken care of, right? Have you noticed that people who take care of their stuff, it lasts longer? Because they have a good relationship with it. And that is also the ways in which you manifest. You manifest through those relationships. And you also manifest through your own personal experience and relationship with your reality. Because a lot of people, they don't think that the reality is a breathing, living, experiencing thing. A lot of people, they don't think that their reality is a thing, right? They don't think of the air in between, everything, right? They don't think about the air in between me and you as something that's real and that has a life of its own and that has a job of its own. But its job is to keep you and me alive, right? Because if I can't breathe, I die. So its job is to keep us alive. So it has a job. It has a purpose, right? A lot of people, they struggle with finding a purpose for themselves, but that's another beautiful thing about your experience to this reality, because everything has a job, but that job they get to decide. That's one of the beautiful things about being a human being, or being like an animal that has thoughts, emotions, and the capabilities of expressing said thoughts, said emotions. That's the only difference between me, you, and a dog. A dog can't really express their thoughts, but it can express their emotions. If a dog's pissed off, it can tell you. If a cat's pissed off, it will let you know. You know what I mean? If an animal is pissed off, it's going to let you know. The only difference between me, you, and these inanimate objects around me is that I get to sit here and tell you and articulate, with a nice array of sounds. Sounds that I made up to mean something. Everything you make up, everything has its free will. So, with that being said, I'm going to set that to the side because that's a whole different video for a whole different day. But basically, a lot of people, they don't think that the relationship with the universe is a living, breathing thing. So you don't treat it with respect. So you don't know how it works. And it's basically that whatever you want to see, you show that love, you show that respect, you show that compassion. You're grateful to the things that you want to see. And the things that you don't want to see, you treat them with respect, you treat them with compassion, but you do not involve yourself more. You can be thankful for the things that you don't want to see too. But instead of giving your emotions to the things that you don't want to see, you give your emotions willingly to the things that you do want to see. And the one thing that really cracked the code for me personally is that you're not chasing your dreams, your hopes, your desires, whatever you want to see in your reality. You're not chasing that for the purpose of seeing it. It's literally this. I'm going to give you this really simple thing that I realized. So when you have a hope, dream, desire, whatever that is, right? Like if you get like a craving for something in your experience, I'm gonna use my own personal craving as an experience, or as a what is it called? What is it called? I forgot the word. As an example. There you go. So let's say, for example, that I'm thirsty and I want some of this. It's not me wanting that. Well, it is me wanting that, right? Because I identify as me, and I want that thing that's separate to me, right? But it's not separate because we're all made of atoms, and atoms are God's molecules because it's the building block to this reality. So me and these atoms are actually one atom because nothing can escape this reality. I am in this room with this drink. So are we separate? No. Even the drinks that are out of this room are still a part of me because we're all connected through the nothingness that is around us. So if you understand that you're connected to everything, even outer space, and far, far beyond the planets that you can't even see, you realize that you're not separate from anything. And the reason why you want that thing is because that thing also wants you. And you have to get into that state of mind to see more of what you want, because what you want is a part of you that's calling you. When you crave food that you like, but it's not really good for you, why is that? Because that thing also wants you. It's a part of you. And you've developed going over to their house every other day. It's like if, like, for example, if I decide that I want to go buy this drink every single time I go to the grocery store, I go to the grocery store pretty frequently because I need to eat, you know? So, because I need to eat and I go there every other week, then me and this thing are like besties at that point because I see them all the time, especially every single time that I go to the store. I'm like, oh yeah, I should go get one of those, right? And because I'm treating it with this relationship, this kind of relationship that I'm like, oh, this is my buddy, right? This is my friend. Then your friends also love you back. Like, it's not like a one-sided relationship. When you have friends and you go over to their houses, it's because they like you just as much as you like them. You know what I mean? Like, your friends, they love you just as much as you love them. Or else you wouldn't be friends, because people don't just tolerate people that they don't like. You know what I mean? Like, it's free will. They can. But if they don't have a reason to do that, why the fuck are they going to do that? Do you go out to hang out with your enemies? Your enemies, because no one has enemies. Do you go out to hang out with the people that you don't like? If you do, I don't know why the fuck you do that, but to each their own, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean by everything in your reality is a relationship. And you don't really recognize that you're going out to hang out with your enemies when you do stuff that you don't want to do. And you don't have to do that. The only reason that you think you have to do that is for some moral sanity. Like, for example, if you go to a job that you absolutely disgustingly despise and it literally is killing you from the inside out because you have no moral, you don't have a spirit when you go and you're just like a zombie. You're like, oh, I have to fucking be here. But I don't want to be here, but I'm here. So I'm going to hate everything. That's who you become. You're engulfing yourself with things that you don't necessarily want to see. And it's part of this experience to have things that you don't like. It's part of it. So I'm not saying that those things are bad for you, but you can get in this loop, in this cycle of going to hang out with people that you don't like because you feel bad for them, or because you're like, I just need to see what they're doing. You know, when they say keep your friends close, but your enemies closer type shit. Like, you could be going to hang out with them for some other reason than just enjoying yourself. But then you forget what enjoying yourself feels like because you don't do it enough. And then when you do it, you're like, why am I doing this to begin with? Why did I do that to begin with? That's a lot of the times what people are doing unconsciously. You're going to hang out with your worst nightmare. And a lot of the times that's how people create their reality, because that's how they're trained to. You're not trained to do the thing that you're passionate about. You're not trained to have passion in the first place. You're not trained to, express yourself, and you're not trained to, be different. We all get put in school. We're all birthed in a hospital, at least, for the most part. We're all, taken care of by our moms or by some adult in our youth. And we're all trained to shut up, sit down, listen. I'm bigger than you. You need to listen to me. Respect your fucking elders type shit. And, we're all treated to not believe the things that are really happening. So because we're trained like a dog to obey this reality and not in the ways that this reality intended it for us, then that's what happens. And we get stuck in ruts and cycles that we don't want to see because we're literally involving ourselves with somebody that we don't even want. It's like if you went out with somebody and married somebody that you don't even like, just because that's what everyone told you to do, because that's what you were taught. That's what your parents did, that's what their parents did, and what their parents did, and because of that, that's what you were taught. And you were never trained that there's better, and that you can actually go out and marry somebody that you do want to be with. And a lot of the times, the universe is trying to get you to see yourself. Like, Just like how I said before, every single atom is connected, at least in this universe, right? And in further dimensions, but I'm not going to get into that. Me and this drink are connected, so when I make buddies, when I make friends with this drink, then this drink is also trying to reach me. And it's kind of like how I said, your friends love you just as much as you love them. Or else, why would they be your friend? So, this thing is trying to get you on the phone, and it's calling you, and it's calling you, and that's what those cravings are. That's what those urges are. That's what you want. You want something, like, for example, you want to travel the world because that thing is trying to reach you. It's trying to get you on the phone. It's trying to say, hey, let's make plans. How about this week of this month and this year so that you have time to prepare? And you're like, that's like in like 4 years, though. That's so far. And you're like, yeah, but I'm giving you time to prepare, right? And you're like, yeah, I guess so. But you're like, I want to go tomorrow. And they're like, no, I said, you have to wait for me. Because just as much as you're not ready for me, I'm not ready for you. And we have to find a way to make this real for each other. We have to make a way for your reality to mesh with your thoughts and your beliefs. If you don't believe that you will be okay if you quit your job tomorrow, and then you quit your job tomorrow, thinking, knowing, feeling that nothing is going to go your way, then what happens? Nothing goes your way. You quit your job and now you're stressing. Now you're doing exactly what you manifested. A lot of people, they're not consciously manifesting. Whatever you want is actually calling you. And because it's calling you because it wants to see you. So automatically you're like, oh, that's what I want, right? Because it's what's calling you, but it's not necessarily what's calling you. It's not your only option. You're at this buffet table, and of all your favorite foods, and so any single one of them could be calling you. You don't get to, get stuck with one thing just because you get stuck with that thing. You know what I mean? Like, you get to consciously choose which one you want to see. And because you get to choose which one you want to see, sometimes that could be harder, and sometimes that could be easier. So it just depends on the ways in which you actually operate as a human being. But you have to get down into your own nitty gritty circuit, your own circuitry for making that happen. And a lot of the times people don't believe that they're manifesting this reality. A lot of people don't believe that they're manifesting this reality because they're trained to not believe that. They're trained that this reality controls you. We don't know anything about science, but science controls you, and it puts you in check because science is here. So you have to be here too. But science is way behind its time, right? Like, a lot of the discoveries that we make, they're way, way, way beyond their time. Like how a lot of the things that you learn in physics class, we learn that like really, really early on, right? Like hundreds of years ago, or 100 years ago, or a decade ago. It's way beyond its time. And we treat a lot of the things that we know now as that's not true, even though a lot of the times we're just ahead of our time and we think ahead of our time. So, with that being said, I'm gonna end this here. But basically, you and the relationship that you have with your reality is what you're going to see. If you are in love with your reality, you will see more of what you love because you'll focus and give more attention to what you love. It's kind of like if you and your favorite thing to do were like married, right? And you brought this love of yours flowers. You, even if you were the girl, you know what I mean? Like, even if you're the girl and you're giving this person gifts and you're doing all of this shit, that's what you're doing with your reality, although you're not consciously doing that. And so the more you gift your emotions, right? Because you're gifting expression, you're gifting emotions to your reality. So you sit there and you think, and feel so grateful and feel so thankful and love, and so loving, and express that love to whatever you want to see, whatever you're trying to see, then that's what will always come back to you. But if you're giving your attention to the things that you hate, then your hates, things that you actually hate, reality doesn't know that you hate them. It just knows that you're giving them more attention. That's like if you had two options in love at any given point in time. There's one that you hate, but you like it because the feelings that it gives you, you just like feeling. Like that's what life is. We just like feeling. That's why we're in a body because we get to feel. And then there's one that you love. And those both of those feelings you like having both of those feelings because it's a feeling. It's kind of like if you went out with somebody just for the attention that they give you. You don't like them, but you like the attention that it gives you. And that's how you feel about, the things that you hate. And so you go back, you go back, and you go back. It's this cycle of you don't really know that it's toxic when it's happening. But then you look back and you're like, why the fuck did I do that? And the things that you want to see, the things that you are consciously trying to manifest are the things that you love. You have to give the things that you love more attention because that's how relationships flourish. They flourish when you're giving them attention, when you pay attention to the details, when you pay attention to the small things. So, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. And as always, my babies, I love you and I appreciate you for being here. If science, psychology, spirituality, self help, and philosophy are things that you're interested in, then I recommend subbing. And I don't know when I'm gonna be back on my grind, but I'm still at home. I just had this urge to post, so that's what I'm doing. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in and tapping in, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.